Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm LJ. If you're new to my channel, I got a request to do a video on how to set your under eye, like the concealer, and how to set it with the setting powder. When I used to set my concealer, it used to feel very dry under my eye. It was very uncomfortable sometimes, and sometimes I would just blame it on the setting powder. I'm like, I don't like the setting powder. It dries out my under eye too much. It was just like how I was setting it that was the problem, not necessarily the setting powder. So I have this new routine that I like to do. Well, it's not new. I've been doing it for a while. So I have this routine that I like to do that I feel like has really helped with, like, you know, setting your under eye, keeping it creaseless, and giving it like that flawless finish without it feeling very dry. So I'm going to be sharing with you guys this today. So if you're interested, then keep on watching. But if you're not subscribed, go ahead and join the LJ family and hit the bell so you're always notified of a new upload. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
KLJ, welcome to a channel where it's poppin'. Welcome to a YouTube.
Alright, before I like to start anything, I like to keep my skin hydrated, moisturized. So for primer, I'm going to use the Huda Beauty Water Jelly Hydrating Primer. I recently reviewed this primer and it's honestly everything my skin needs plus more. It's really hydrating and it keeps the makeup intact. So after placing this primer on my skin, I like to let it sit for about 60 seconds so that my skin can absorb the hydration. Then move on to foundation. Alright, so for foundation, I'm gonna use the Makiage Woke Up Like This foundation. This one is in the shade 230. I really like this foundation. I actually mentioned it in one of my favorites videos. I feel like a lot of people be sleeping on this foundation. It is amazing. It's really long lasting and it doesn't crease on me. So I'm gonna place this all over my skin and I'm gonna blend it out with a beauty blender. Do you guys see this shade match? Like, they have like the perfect shade for me. It's crazy because it sort of has like a matte finish, but it works so perfectly with like dry skin. I feel like it just, once it like settles and sits in your skin, it actually starts to mattify. Instead it being matte before you apply it, I feel like it just mattifies when it settles in your skin, which is good because if you have dry skin and you're putting on a foundation that's already matte before you put it on, it's kind of hard for it to blend. Alright, so I'm gonna move on to concealer. So I like to do complexion before doing my eye makeup because I don't know, that's just what I like to do. It sometimes doesn't make any sense, you know, all the eyeshadow fallout and stuff like that, but I don't know, for some reason I feel like I do complexion better when I do it first. So I'm gonna move on to concealer. So for concealer, I'm gonna use the Rare Beauty concealer. This one is in the shade 430W, and I like to place a good amount of concealer because I feel like this just kind of adds dimension onto your skin. And I'm bringing the concealer all the way to the bridge of my nose. I'm also gonna place this on my forehead. So while this is sitting onto my skin, I'm gonna go in with contour, and for contour I'm gonna use the ABH contour stick. You guys have seen me use this like a gazillion times. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and blend out this contour. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and blend out the concealer. I like to bring the concealer on my eyelid area just so that it can conceal like my whole eye. I don't know, I feel like it's just so satisfying. So I'm going back in with the beauty sponge that I used for the contour to get rid of the concealer lines. Alright, so I'm going to place a little bit of contour for my nose. I know you guys are probably like, girl. But I'm going to blend it out. I like using foundation sticks for contour because they're so easy to blend than concealers. I feel like concealers dry up faster than foundation sticks. So with this foundation stick, I feel like with my nose contour, I can never overdose because it's just easy for me to blend it out. Alright, so the moment we've all been waiting for in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and set my skin. Now, before when I used to do my makeup, I used to think like what sets my skin really well was for me to apply my concealer, and immediately after applying my concealer, I go in with my setting powder. Nowadays, I don't do that. Nowadays, I just let the concealer sit so it doesn't really like take away from the coverage, because I feel like every time I did that, it took away from the coverage of the concealer. I like the concealer settling onto my skin before going in with setting powder. So that's one tip that I found really helpful for setting my under eyes. But what I also like to do is right before applying setting powder, I like to go in with the concealer sponge and just kind of get rid of any creasing like under your eye, because if your concealer sits for like 2 to 3 minutes, it starts creasing under your eye because you're moving your eyes. So what I like to do is I like to go in with the concealer sponge and just kind of like tap on it and then immediately set it so it stays like that. As far as setting powders, I've done a video of like my top 5 favorite setting powders and why they're my favorite setting powders. If you guys are interested in checking that out, I will leave that at the top right hand corner. So I talk about like my favorite setting powders. So today I'm going to be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is the loose setting powder in the shade Deep Peach. So this setting powder is an oil absorbing setting powder, as in it absorbs the oils under your T-zone area. For me, I'm always forming oils on my T-zone area. Even though I have dry skin, I still form those oils. So really using an oil absorbing setting powder is super helpful because it keeps it like flawless for a really long time. I wouldn't really say like 12 to 16 hours. I will still form oils, but it keeps it intact for a long time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the sponge that I used for the concealer, and I'm just gonna tap under my eye and make sure that the creasing is gone on my eyelid area, just around my eye area. And immediately after doing that, I'm going to go in with the damp beauty sponge and set my under eye. Now, I like using damp beauty sponges because I just feel like it gives you like that flawless finish than me using a brush. I recently tried using a brush to see like what the difference is, and honestly, the brush doesn't give you like a flawless finish. Like you guys can see, like it looks smooth. You don't see any like creasing or anything like that. Using a damp beauty sponge is really my secret nowadays. It keeps your under eye feeling very comfortable. It usually doesn't leave your under eye feeling very dry. I think it just comes from like the water in the beauty sponge with the powder mixed together, kind of gives it that texture that doesn't feel very dry. If I use the brush, I would usually use the Morphe E48 brush to set my under eye, but this one will kind of like leave my under eye a little bit dry. I would feel it under my eyes, especially because I have dry skin. I can feel when things are dry very easily. That right there, my friends, is the secret to setting your skin with that flawless finish. So I'm gonna go in and kind of just like make sure there's no creasing, and then go ahead and set my under eye. So I'm gonna use the Morphe E36 brush to set the bridge of my nose. I like using a smaller brush to do this. So I'm also gonna set my forehead area. I like to go in with the beauty sponge and just kind of like dust off the excess with this brush. And then whatever's left on the beauty sponge, I like to go in with a little bit of reverse contour. And I like to mainly focus around this area right here. I don't like to bring it all the way right here because then it starts looking ashy and it kind of starts looking fake. So I like to just like focus this mainly around the top area and just dust it off. Alright, so next I'm going to go in with some bronzer, and for bronzer I'm going to use the Makeup Revolution Ultra Matte Bronzer. This one is in the shade Dark. This is like literally one of my favorite bronzers. Like they came through for brown skin girls with these bronzers because it has been my go-to bronzer for a long time now. Alright guys, so that is it. So this is exactly how I like to set my under eye without leaving it feeling very dry or uncomfortable and without leaving any creasing. So what I'm gonna do is finish off the rest of my face and then I'll be back with the final look. Alright, so this is the final look of this video. So this is exactly how I like to set my under eye. I feel like this technique is perfect for me. If you guys are having like trouble with like setting powders feeling too dry under your eyes or like creasing, try using like a damp beauty sponge or like damp beauty sponge that you use with the concealer, because I feel like once you put the concealer there, it's not going to be too damp. You don't want it to be too damp to where it's like water's coming off the sponge. You want it to be damp, but there's like actually no water in the sponge, so like you can feel that it's damp, but when you squeeze it, like there's no water coming out, there's no water on your hands, but you can feel like it's wet. So that's really how I like to use it with my setting powder. If you make it too wet and you dip it into the powder and you apply it, it's gonna be cakey. It's not gonna come out smooth, it's not gonna come out flawless, it's gonna be chunky and it's not gonna look right. So make sure your beauty sponge is not too damp, because if it is too damp, it's gonna ruin the whole makeup look and you're not gonna like it. So that's like the main thing that I usually do to make sure like my under eye feels comfortable. Right now I've had my makeup on for about 2 to 3 hours and it feels super comfortable. So yeah, that is it for this video. I really hope this video was helpful. If it was, leave your girl a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and join the LJ family. Also hit the bell so you're always notified of a new upload. But other than that, I will see you guys in my next video.
KLJ, welcome to a channel where it's poppin'. You better subscribe, got it on lock, yeah. Got it on lock, yeah. We need more likes, more views, yeah. You can leave a comment too. Welcome to our YouTube. Welcome to our YouTube.